You sit at the table, you have the right answer, you have the vision. But when you open your mouth, the room does not stop. Eyes glaze over. Someone else repeats your exact point 5 minutes later, and suddenly, they are the genius. It is a quiet agony, the anxiety of being misunderstood, the exhaustion of constantly proving your worth while the loudest, least competent people absorb all the oxygen. Society tells you to just speak up, to be louder, to fake it until you make it. But here's the truth. Volume is the weapon of the insecure. The elite do not shout, they anchor. In this video, we reveal the psychological frameworks and stoic disciplines of the top 1% of communicators. If you click away, you accept a lifetime of being talked over, ignored, and chronically underestimated. But if you stay, you will reconstruct your verbal operating system from the ground up. You will learn to command attention without raising your voice. Chapter 1. The Silent Architecture of Influence. This leads us to the foundational truth of human interaction. The majority of people are playing a game they do not realize they have already lost. They think communication is about words. They memorize scripts. They obsess over vocabulary. However, modern neuroscience dictates that our brains are wired to detect hierarchy, status, and threat before a single syllable is consciously processed. You walk into a room holding on to your insecurities. Your shoulders are tight. Your breathing is shallow, trapped in your upper chest, fueled by a slow drip of cortisol. You are signaling to the subconscious minds of everyone around you. I am not a threat, but I am also not a leader. Your physical state is broadcasting your anxiety, and the room is receiving the signal loud and clear. Consider the case of the modern professional. They speak fast to avoid taking up too much time. They end statements with a subtle upward inflection, turning facts into questions. They apologize for breathing. Do not be this person. Stop rushing. Stop shrinking. Claim your space. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." The architecture of your influence begins in the mind, long before the vocal cords vibrate. The key is internal sovereignty. If you do not possess yourself, you cannot command a room. You must train your nervous system to tolerate the weight of being perceived. For example, when a high-value individual speaks, they do not rush to fill the silence. They let the silence work for them. They understand that their physical presence, the stillness of their hands, the depth of their gaze, the slow rhythm of their breath, is the concrete foundation upon which their words are built. They are grounded in the present moment, immune to the frantic, dopamine-driven pacing of the modern world. You must stop trying to convince people you matter. You must simply exist as someone who matters. But here's the truth. You cannot project an authority you do not possess internally. You cannot build a fortress on a foundation of anxiety. The architecture will collapse. To speak with absolute power, you must first govern the empire of your own mind. You must rip out the need for approval at its very root. Chapter 2. The Stoic Mindset of Communication. Think about it. Why does your voice shake when the stakes are high? Why does your mind go blank when you need it most? It is not a lack of intelligence. It is an evolutionary hijacking. Your amygdala perceives the judgment of others as a mortal threat. You are flooding your system with adrenaline to survive a boardroom presentation, a date, or a difficult conversation. You are treating social friction like a predator in the brush. It is exhausting, and it destroys your charisma. Most people never realize that true vocal power is born from absolute detachment. The average person speaks to seek validation. They want the dopamine hit of a nod, They want to be liked. They want to be agreed with. On the other hand, the Stoic speaks to express the truth, entirely unbothered by how it is received. Let go of the outcome. Sever the cord of neediness. Speak your truth, and let the chips fall where they may. Seneca taught that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. You obsess over the perception of your words, microanalyzing the facial expressions of your listener. You are abandoning your own mental frame to live inside theirs. This is a fatal error in the mechanics of power. When you operate from a place of needing approval, you hand over the remote control to your emotional state. You are not your audience's reaction. You are not their approval. You are the architect of the message. The key is shifting your internal locus of control. When you stop requiring the room to validate you, the room instinctively begins to follow you. Your tone drops. Your cadence slows. Your voice gains the rich, resonant frequency of a person who is entirely secure in their own existence. You stop reacting to the world, and the world begins reacting to you. This is the mindset of the elite. You must train your brain to find comfort in the discomfort of being seen, unapologetically and clearly. Stop seeking applause. Start seeking alignment. Step into the arena of the stoic few who command respect simply by breathing. Mastery of the tongue begins with mastery of the mind. Chapter 3. Precision over volume. This leads us to the mechanics of the words themselves. You have mastered your internal state. You are no longer shaking. But if you open your mouth and pour out a flood of disorganized thoughts, you immediately forfeit your authority. It is easy to feel the urge to over-explain. You want to make absolutely sure they understand you. You want to hedge your bets so no one gets offended. You add just, kind of, and maybe to soften the blow. But here's the truth. Every unnecessary word you speak dilutes the power of your message. Most people never realize that over-explaining is a trauma response. It is the nervous system begging to be understood. It is a plea for validation disguised as thoroughness. On the other hand, the elite communicator operates on the principle of linguistic scarcity. Think about it. The most valuable things in this world are rare. Diamonds, time, unwavering focus. Your words must be treated with the same reverence. When you speak constantly, your words become cheap. When you speak with surgical precision, people lean in. Consider the case of a sniper versus a machine gunner. The average person sprays words in every direction, hoping something hits the target. They exhaust themselves and annoy their audience. The top 1% wait. They calculate. They deliver one devastatingly accurate sentence that changes the entire trajectory of the room. Cut the fat. Kill the filler words. Strip your sentences down to the studs. Your brain, and the brains of your listeners, craves cognitive ease. Neuroscience shows that clear, concise statements are processed faster and believed more readily than complex, winding paragraphs. When you use fewer words, you force the listener's subconscious to assign higher value to each one. For example, do not say, "I was just thinking that maybe we could possibly try a different approach." If that's okay, say, "We need a new approach. Here's the strategy." State your premise. Back it up. Stop talking. You are not a beggar asking for conversational scraps. You are an architect laying bricks of undeniable truth. Speak in declarations. The key is to trust that your core message is strong enough to stand alone. It does not need the bubble wrap of your insecurity. Chapter 4. The Power of the Pause. However, stripping away weak words is only half the battle. You have crafted a message of absolute precision. But a powerful sentence delivered without space is like a lightning strike without the thunder. It flashes, and then it is gone. The average person is terrified of dead air. They feel the silence stretching, and their anxiety spikes. They rush to fill the void with nervous laughter, throat clearing, or a rushed pivot to the next topic. They signal to the room that they are entirely incapable of holding tension. But here's the truth. The Stoic understands that tension is the crucible where respect is forged. Most people never realize that the pause is where the actual communication happens. The words simply set the stage. The silence is where the listener's brain digests the impact. When you drop a heavy truth and immediately follow it with silence, you force the room to sit with the weight of your intellect. Think about it. When a judge delivers a verdict, they do not immediately start making small talk. They let the gavel strike. They let the echo ring. You must learn to let the echo ring. Consider the case of a hostile negotiation or a dismissive colleague. They interrupt you. They throw an insult wrapped as a joke. The natural instinct is to snap back, to defend yourself instantly, to match their chaotic energy. Do not react. Hold their gaze. Let 3 full seconds of dead silence pass. In that silence, you are returning the awkwardness to its rightful owner. You are refusing to enter their frantic frame. You are communicating without a single syllable that their attempt to rattle you has failed completely. The key is breath control. When you deliver your final point, close your mouth. Breathe in slowly through your nose. Feel the discomfort of the quiet room and lean into it. Let them break the silence first. Silence is not empty. It is full of answers. Stop rushing to fill it. Own the space between the words. Chapter 5. Vocal Resonance and the Subconscious. This leads us to the physical instrument itself. You have mastered the pause. You have stripped away the weak words. But when you finally speak, your voice betrays your Stoic foundation. It pitches up. It sounds thin, strained, and anxious. It sounds like you are asking the room for permission to exist. It is a deeply frustrating experience. You know your value, but your vocal cords are broadcasting a completely different message. But here's the truth. Human beings do not process words first. They process frequencies. Modern neuroscience confirms that our brains are ancient machines. Long before we developed complex language, we relied on sound to assess threat, size, and social hierarchy. When your voice is trapped in your upper throat or nasal cavity, you are emitting a high-frequency signal of distress. You are triggering the primal instinct of everyone in the room to dismiss you, interrupt you, or dominate you. Most people never realize that their standard speaking voice is actually a chronic stress response. The average person spends years unconsciously lifting their larynx and tightening their vocal cords to sound friendly, agreeable, and non-threatening. They are suffocating their true resonance to appease society. They trade their power for likability and end up with neither. On the other hand, the elite communicator speaks from the diaphragm. They anchor their sound deep within the chest cavity. Think about it. When a massive engine turns over or a heavy door swings shut, you do not just hear it. You feel the vibration in your chest. Your voice must carry that same undeniable physical weight. It must project immovable stability. Consider the case of a veteran CEO or a seasoned negotiator. When the pressure spikes and the room descends into chaos, they do not raise their volume to compete. They drop their pitch. They let their vocal cords relax entirely. They understand that a calm, resonant frequency bypasses the panicked logical brain and speaks directly to the subconscious nervous system of the listener. forcing the room to regulate itself to their pace. Stop speaking from your head. Drop the mask. Breathe deep into your stomach and let the sound roll out. For example, before your next high-stakes interaction, find a moment of isolation. Hum at the lowest, most effortless pitch you can sustain. Feel the vibration rattling in your chest bone. That is your baseline. That is where your unshakable authority lives. When you step into the room, do not let the anxiety of perception pull that resonance back up into your throat. However, true resonance is not about artificially faking a deeper voice. That sounds theatrical and insecure. It is about unlocking your natural, relaxed state. Tension is the enemy of gravity. A tight, anxious mind produces a tight, anxious sound. The key is absolute biological alignment. When your mind is unbothered by the opinions of others, your breath deepens. When your breath deepens, your voice resonates. When your voice resonates, the world stops to listen. You are no longer asking them to hear you. You are forcing them to feel you. Chapter 6. The Insider's Lexicon. This leads us to the specific architecture of your vocabulary. You have cultivated the resonant tone. You have the pacing. But if you fill that powerful silence with the language of the masses, you will remain part of the masses. It is incredibly common to rely on filler phrases, trendy slang, and bloated corporate jargon to blend in. You want to sound intelligent, so you use multisyllabic words that mean absolutely nothing. You say synergy, bandwidth, and pivot because everyone else is saying them. You're wearing a verbal uniform designed by middle management. But here's the truth. Borrowing language is a symptom of intellectual poverty. The top 1% do not rent their vocabulary from corporate trends. They own their words. Most people never realize that language literally shapes reality. This is the core principle of neuroplasticity. The words you consistently choose wire your brain to perceive the world in a specific way. If you constantly use weak, passive, and apologetic language, you are actively cultivating a weak, passive mind. On the other hand, the Stoic speaks entirely in terms of absolute agency and immovable reality. They reject the language of victims. They do not say, "I can't." They say, "I will not." They do not say, "I have to." They say, "I choose to." Think about it. When you say, "I am trying," you are giving your subconscious mind immediate permission to fail. You are building an escape hatch into your own sentences. The elite do not try. They execute. They do not hope. They align. Consider the case of a leader facing a sudden crisis. The average person says, "Hopefully, things will get better soon if we try our best." They are outsourcing their power to luck and circumstance. The true sovereign says, "The situation is critical. Here is how we resolve it." They take violent ownership of the narrative. Stop softening your verbs. Stop hedging your bets. Excise words like hopefully, maybe, and perhaps from your daily lexicon. For example, replace "I think we should" with "I recommend." Replace "Does that make sense?" with "What are your thoughts on this strategy?" Stop turning your statements into questions. Stop asking for validation at the end of every thought. However, do not confuse an elite lexicon with academic arrogance. The goal is not to confuse people with a thesaurus. The goal is brutal, undeniable clarity. You want words that cut like a scalpel, not words that bludgeon like a hammer. Use power words that evoke forward momentum and vision, mastery, leverage, resilience, calibration, execution. The key is ultimate congruence. Your vocabulary must perfectly match your unshakable internal state. When you speak with the precise, uncompromising lexicon of a leader, you force the room to treat you as one. Choose your words like you are choosing weapons for a battle. Chapter 7. Navigating Friction and Frame Control. This leads us to the ultimate test of your new operating system. You have calibrated your resonance. You have stripped away the weak vocabulary. You are grounded. But the moment you step into the arena, you will face friction. Someone will interrupt you. A colleague will challenge your premise. A client will throw a passive-aggressive jab. It is easy to feel your pulse spike when your authority is tested. The primal brain screams that you are under attack. You want to defend yourself. You want to raise your voice and fight for control of the room. But here's the truth. The moment you react defensively, you lose the frame. Most people never realize that conversation is a subtle war of realities. The person who reacts is the person who is being controlled. The average person operates on a hair trigger. They absorb the chaotic energy of an attack and immediately reflect it back. On the other hand, the elite communicator acts as a black hole for neurotic energy. They absorb the attack, let it die in the silence, and maintain their own unshakable reality. Think about it. Power is not about defeating the other person's argument. Power is about refusing to participate in their anxiety. Consider the case of the boardroom interruption. You are making a critical point, and a peer cuts across you to inject their own opinion. The amateur raises their volume, trying to talk over the interruption. They look desperate. They sound frantic. Do not raise your voice. Do not break eye contact. Simply stop talking. Let them finish their intrusion. Look at them with a calm, neutral expression. Let 2 full seconds of heavy silence pass. Then, without acknowledging their interruption, resume your sentence exactly where you left off. You are communicating that their outburst was entirely irrelevant to your momentum. For example, if someone says, "Well, that's just a ridiculous idea," do not say, "No, it's not, and here is why." You are validating their frame. Instead, look at them and say, "Explain your logic." Force them to carry the intellectual weight of their own attack. However, frame control is not about arrogance. It is not about bullying the room. It is about emotional sovereignty. Stoic philosophy teaches us that we cannot control the actions of others, only our response to them. When you refuse to be rattled, you become a psychological anchor. You force the room to calibrate to your stability. The key is detachment. You must decouple your ego from the conversation. Let them project their insecurities. Let them flounder in the silence. Hold your ground. Maintain your resonance. Do not surrender your frame. Chapter 8. The Sovereign Voice. This leads us to the final evolution of the well-spoken person. You have the mechanics. You have the psychology. You know how to handle friction without losing your composure. Yet when you look in the mirror, you might still feel a shadow of doubt. The imposter syndrome whispers that you are just playing a role. It is a heavy burden, the fear that you are faking it. The anxiety that one day the world will figure out you are not as confident as you sound. But here's the truth. Confidence is not a feeling. Confidence is an execution of standards. Society tells you to wait until you feel ready, to wait until the fear disappears before you speak with authority. Most people never realize that the fear never disappears. The top 1% simply learn to execute their standards while the fear is present. On the other hand, the average person waits for a magical sense of readiness that never arrives. Think about it. The greatest leaders, speakers, and stoics in history all battled internal resistance. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations not because he was perfect, but because he was trying to hold his mind together in the face of immense pressure. Consider the case of stepping onto a stage or walking into a final negotiation. Your heart will race. Your palms will sweat. The biological response is identical for the amateur and the master. The difference is the narrative. The amateur says, "I am panicking." The master says, "I am primed for battle." Change the narrative. Rewire the neuroplastic pathways of your brain. Do not wait for confidence. Command it. For example, you do not need to feel like a king to speak like one. You simply need to open your mouth, anchor your breath in your diaphragm, and deliver your words with absolute precision. The feeling of confidence follows the physical action of confidence. It never precedes it. However, this requires brutal consistency. You cannot be the sovereign voice in the boardroom and a timid whisper in your personal life. Your subconscious mind is always watching. If you compromise your standards when the stakes are low, your voice will betray you when the stakes are high. The key is absolute alignment between who you are and what you speak. The sovereign voice is not a mask you wear. It is the truest expression of your internal discipline. You must become the architect of your own reality. Speak it into existence. Refuse to negotiate with your own self-doubt. Conclusion. The transformation from average to elite is not an accident. It is an intentional, often uncomfortable reconstruction of how you interact with the world. You have learned the silent architecture of influence. You have weaponized the pause. You have stripped away the weak, apologetic language that kept you chained to mediocrity. It is easy to consume this information, feel a temporary spike of motivation, and then slide right back into your old habits by tomorrow morning. The modern world is engineered to make you distracted, anxious, and subservient. It wants you to blend in. It wants you to speak quietly and wait your turn. Do not give the world what it wants. Give the world what it cannot ignore. You possess the blueprints. You understand the psychology. Now, the execution rests entirely on your shoulders. You are no longer permitted to shrink in rooms where you belong. You are no longer allowed to let your words dissolve into the background noise. Your voice is your ultimate instrument of manifestation, and it is time to wield it with absolute authority. I invite you to step out of the chaotic, desperate masses. Join the top 1%. Join the stoic few who understand that the words they speak dictate the reality they live. Elevate your standards. Master your resonance. Reclaim your frame. Success is not a destination, it is a discipline.